Hey folks, and welcome to my video lesson on dial calipers. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most simplistic measuring instruments to use, which is a dial caliper. If you take a look, there are many different varieties of dial calipers. There's a 6-inch, which is a smaller version of a dial caliper. There's a 12-inch dial caliper, okay? And there's also vernier scales. Dial calipers differ from vernier scales. How they're read, number one, but also dial calipers have a dial, whether it's digital or analog. Today I'm going to be covering how to read an analog dial caliper. So we're going to first have a quick little review of our simple decimal places in mathematics. If you take a look, you have to remember your decimal places. The first thing is whole numbers. So numbers that fall to the left of the decimal place would be whole numbers, or 1. Numbers that fall to the right are tenths. Okay? The next decimal place would be hundredths. And then the last one would be thousands. And that's important to note that we go from whole to tenths to hundredths to thousands. Okay, and you have to remember that. If you look at the rail on the dial caliper, the largest numbers that you're going to find on this rail are going to be our whole numbers. So the numbers that are set up that range on this caliper from 0 to 6 and on our larger caliper from 0 to 12 are responsible for giving us our whole numbers. So what's important to note is you have to be beyond the whole number to consider it that place. So those numbers would range anywhere from 0 through 6 on the 6-inch dial caliper. Okay, those are our whole numbers. The numbers that are in between the whole numbers on the dial caliper are our tenths. So if you take a look on the dial caliper itself, you'll see something that looks like this, all right? And on that continuum, you would have 0 and 1. In between the 0 and 1, you would have small numbers that would be our tenths. So it's 0, 1, and in between you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are our tenths. So if I were falling somewhere right here on beyond my 4, I would be at 0.4 of an inch, or 4.4, excuse me. Okay? If we continue this continuum on to our next series of 1.1, 1.2, so on and so forth. If I fell in between the 3 and the 4, I would be at 1, because I'm beyond my whole number now. And the 0.3 would be selected because I'm in between the 3 and the 4. All right? Where we pick up our hundreds and thousands are directly off our dial. So if you look at this dial is read and it has numbers all the way from 0 to 99 on the dial. Okay? On that dial, that picks up, let's say we're working with this 1.3. The 0 through 99 picks up these next 2 decimal places. Okay? So let's say on my dial, let's say I fell on 1 as my whole number, and in between 0.3 and 0.4, I'd be at 1.3. And on my dial, I read 55. So if you look at my dial here, this would be 0, this would be 99, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around. So we have our 99. We'd hit 10, 20, 30, 50, all the way around, so on and so forth. Okay? If I hit 59 or 55, whatever it might be, let's say we hit 55 and my dial was pointing at the 55, that would be in charge of filling these 2 decimal places. So I'd be at 1.3 5. Now, that precision measurement is quite far enough for our measuring standards. This goes out to the thousandth of an inch. So this would be 1.355 inches. Okay? Now, this is pretty easy to measure. They're very easy to measure. What's important to note is the different ways in which we can use the dial caliper to measure. If you take a look, the first measurement that we have are between the two flat spots on this jaw. This is for outer measurements. So if I had a part here, like so, and I needed to know this dimension, I would use the outer jaw measurements. Okay, so what I would recommend is we get this tight. We go ahead and lock our set screw so our measurement does not move, and we can slide this off the part. At that point, I can go ahead and take this measurement, and I see I'm at 2.090 inches. So I'm at 2.090 inches. What that tells me is this part was drawn at 2 inches, and when it was machined, that is simply the tolerance of that machine. That this machine was off by 90 thousandths of an inch, which is pretty significant. Okay? So that's the outside measurements. For the inside measurements, if you take a look here, let's say I'm trying to find the inside of these circles here. Instead of trying to take a measurement like this and lining that up, what we can do is use these inside jaws and use the flats here to go ahead and take an inside measurement. What's important about inside measurements is once you get this in there, I recommend rotating this around, finding it, and then once again locking our set screw and removing. Okay. In this particular case, I got 0.675. So 0.675 was the diameter of the inside measurement of my hole. Okay, 0.675 inches was the diameter of my hole. The final and third way we can use this dial caliper to measure is the little protrusion or the bar that comes out the back of this dial caliper. If you take a notice, this measurement right here is directly related, or is the same measurement as the inside, and is the exact same measurement as the outside and the inside. It's all the same measurement. Okay? So instead of trying to find, let's say we're trying to find the depth of how deep this little cut is right here. Okay? Instead of trying to line this up like so and say, you know, let's see how deep this void is here. All right? What we can actually do is hold the block like this and put this inside and bring this down until our dial caliper hits. All right? That measurement right there is exactly equal to the measurement inside here. When I read my dial caliper, I find it to be exactly 0.50 or half of an inch. So the depth on this block is directly half of an inch. The measurement on our dial caliper would look like this because we are measuring that precisely. Okay, so I'd have 0.5 on the rail and 0.00 on the dial. For practice right now, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and grab a quarter, and with that quarter, I would like you to take two measurements. The overall diameter of the quarter. So if this is my quarter, take the diameter, and then take the thickness of the quarter. All right. Please record those two measurements, and we'll double check them tomorrow when you come back to school.